Is the DCU getting a little too complicated in terms of its continuity? I'm here to break it all down. First, though, if you haven't seen episode 3 of Peacemaker season 2 yet, there will be some spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, go watch that episode and then come back and watch this short. But yeah, essentially, basically ever since Peacemaker season 2 started, as a matter of fact, or you could even go as far back as Creature Commandos, there's been references to the Suicide Squad film that James Gunn did back in 2021, which was very clearly in the DCEU continuity, as well as the first season of Peacemaker. But if you've seen the first episode of Peacemaker, you'll know that they basically recanonized Peacemaker season 1 as taking place in the main DCU, since they have the Justice Gang show up at the end instead of the Justice League in that recap video. So, okay, yeah, whatever, like, I can kind of buy that, sure. But then it gets a little more complicated, because Peacemaker himself, again, very much so a character from that Suicide Squad film in 2021. So does that make the Suicide Squad film canon? And if you've seen the newest episode of Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 3 again, Rick Flag Jr. makes an appearance in this alternate dimension or whatever where he's still alive. He was basically in love with Harcourt. So does that, as such, like, basically contextualize the 2016 film as well, because they actually make reference to, I believe, the Enchantress. So does that make Suicide Squad and the Suicide Squad canon? And we know James Gunn has already said that Blue Beetle is the same actor. I can't think of his name right now. It's going to be the Blue Beetle of the DCU, and apparently there will be elements of that film that ties over. So I feel like they're making the DCU continuity a little more complicated than it needs to be, and I completely understand where James Gunn is kind of trying to go with this. He's basically said anything that's made reference to is supposed to be canon, and anything that's not made reference to is supposed to not be canon. So, I mean, if you think of it that way, like, it kind of makes sense, because, you know, okay, they can reference Enchantress from Suicide Squad 2016, but is that just, okay, maybe they had, like, Rick Flag Jr. and Enchantress had an affair, and did that not include the Suicide Squad story? And if so, did that play out differently? So to me, while I think they should have just done a hard reset and maybe just done it to where Peacemaker goes from the DCEU, and maybe this new dimension is the DCU, which in theory maybe they could technically do, but judging from that recap video, it doesn't seem likely. But if they just done something simple like that, to basically be like, okay, you can watch Peacemaker Season 1 and Suicide Squad, but you don't have to watch Season 2, and we'll just have him step into that portal, and it'll be the new DCU. I feel like it would have been a less complicated way to go about it, because if I'm wanting to go through the DCU with the buddy in a few years, I'm not going to know where to begin. But yeah, again, doesn't hate it. I'm still loving the DCU. I'm still loving Peacemaker, but man, it's a lot of confusion.